Hi guys, in this video I'll provide an introduction to the switch statement. I'll cover cases, the default case, and the break statement. You should already be familiar with if statements. In this video I'll take a program that uses an if-else-if statement and I'll demonstrate how we can represent the same logic using a switch statement. Take a look at the program on the right. This program declares a variable of type int named choice. It prompts the user to enter a value between 1 and 3. It reads the input into the variable, and then it checks if the choice that was entered is either 1, 2, or 3. If any of these conditions evaluate to true, it will execute the statement in the associated then block. If the choice was 1, it will output you selected 1. If the choice was 2, it will output you selected 2, and if choice was 3, it will output you selected 3. Now I will write the same program, but instead of using an if statement, I will use a switch statement. I first declare a variable named choice, then I prompt the user to select a choice between 1 and 3, and then I read that input into the variable. Next, I will write a switch statement, starting with a switch keyword, followed by the variable name in parentheses, and then a code block. Note that this is really just a variable name. There's nothing else. Now, inside the code block, I will write the cases. And the cases here will be 1, 2, and 3. So it will be case 1, colon, case 2, colon, and case 3, colon. Note that this is not just case 1, case 2, case 3, and so on. This is just case followed by a constant. So a hard-coded literal. This could also be 10, 25, and 300, for example. Whatever value I want to compare against the value that's stored in the variable. It just happened to be 1, 2, and 3 in this case. Now after the colon, I can write statements. So if it matches 1, I will output you selected 1. If it matched 2, I will output you selected 2. And if it matched 3, I will output you selected 3. Now this looks good so far, but let's execute it and let's see what happens. Now, if I enter 1, you will say you selected 1, you selected 2, you selected 3. The reason for this is that cases fall through to the next case. So here it really just checks where it should enter. Let's say I execute it with choice 2. We see 2 and 3. So when I had 1, it start entering the code block and execute the statements, but it won't check again. So it will check all the statements, it will execute all the statements until the end of the switch statement. When I enter 2, it will match check 1, doesn't match, check 2, it matches, enters the case, execute, and fall through to the next one and execute. Now, most of the time you don't want this. This is where the break statement comes into place. So by adding a break statement, wherever needed, in this case, I need it for every case. This will break out of the switch statement. So if the choice is 1, it will enter 1, execute the statement here, and then break out and continue execution afterwards. If it matches 2, it will execute the statement here and then break out. And if it's 3, it will execute the statement here and then break out. Let's run this again. Now when I enter 1, you selected 1. If I enter 2, you selected 2, and if I enter 3, you selected 3. This is the same logic that is represented on the right side with the if-else-if statement. Now let's say on the if-else-if we have an else block. Printf invalid choice. How can we represent the else block in the switch statement? This is where the default case comes into place. So I write simply default, and then I can write some statements. invalid choice, for example, and then a break. It's always good to add a break, although in the last case you don't necessarily need it. Let's run this again and say I enter 5. You can see I get invalid choice. So the default is really if none of these other cases match. Now, there's some rigidness to the if statements. The if statements really just allow comparison to the values and then the else statement at the end. I already pointed out that we can have fall throughs. So if I remove the break statement here, we can fall through the next case, even though the case here doesn't match. This is not possible for if statements. It's also possible to move the default case somewhere else. I could move it at the top or even in the middle. So if I run this again and I say 5, I still get invalid choice. If I enter 1, it shows you selected 1. So there's some more flexibility with switch statements. Also notice that switch statements only compare for equality to the cases that are defined. If we have something, if the choice is larger than 1 on the if statement, we cannot express the same logic with a switch statement. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.